All right, welcome back. Let's cover our pages with some pretty paper, shall we? All right, I'm just gonna make sure I'm in the right group here because I'm recording. And then yep, looks like I'm live. All right, let me make this screen big so I look up hopefully every so often and keep hands in camera. Off camera, I did do our measurements, so hopefully that'll save you some time. We're gonna do this last, which is unusual for me, but I've already identified what our papers, are gonna be. So let's do our inside cover, and we're gonna use the lime green words, which is, of course, all right, it's one of our snowman pieces. So if this is 6 by 6, we're gonna cut to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. We'll cut 2 of them because we're gonna do the front and the back. So 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And again, 5 3/4. And I'm gonna try to glue mine right on top of this trimmer here so I'm not going back and forth. Now on my demo, I did ink my edges, so this would be the time if you were gonna do some inking, this would be the time to do it. I'm going to stick with my Fabrifix. And the reason why is I think sometimes our glitter glue gets a little wet and it just seems a little warped. Sometimes I can see the lines of where I placed the glue show through, and this seems to evaporate and not do that for me. Just center it up there. I always like, if at all possible, for my front cover to match my back cover. So when you open it up, your eye sees some consistency, that peeking out. Seems a little smaller. I don't know why. I'm going to make sure that is 5 3/4, which maybe it's not. Is that weird or what? That's crazy. All right, go ahead and glue it down with me. Okay, there's my back. So now our front cover here, this I used, and save all your scraps, because I think we use a lot of this paper. But find this snowflake, and I love the back side too. So we're going to cut this to 4 3/4 wide by 5 1/4 tall. So I'm going to make my 5 1/4 first. No. Yeah. 5 1/4. And then 4 3/4. Sorry. So this will go just like that. And if you have a hard time seeing the edge, I just tuck a scrap underneath so I can make sure this is centered when I glue it. Because a lot of times blue on blue on blue, it gets hard to see. Okay, I'm just going to hold that for a second. All right. While we have this piece out, we already know our height is okay. So I'm going to turn it a quarter turn, and I'm going to cut to 4 3/4 again. And that goes on this side here. So you've got a little peek through, little contrast. So I know I'm off camera, I'm just throwing glue on the back. All right. And then when we open it up, I did use this scrap on that edge, and I didn't think through that very well because I've got this 5 1/2. So I'm gonna flip-flop it, and I'm gonna do it here, because I can cover my writing on this one. So I'll use the same scraps, but I'm just, here, I'll bring it into camera here. So instead of this side being my piece side, this side will be my pieced side. because I've got that white pencil and just where I happen to place that writing when I wrote down the dimensions. So that's my scrap, which I love. Okay, so we've got this other piece, right? So our height is 5 1/4. And our big center panel is also 5 1/4 wide because it's a square. And then one of them is going to be 4 3/4. So I'm going to bring us back in camera. This is our square. That's going to get centered up here. And this is our other piece. It's going to go on the inside flap. So go ahead and glue those down. Just throwing some glue down, coming back. All right, we'll come back and get this scrap. All right, so now I'm going to close up my demo, flip to my back side. So we've got this piece here. And I need to find my penguins. Which I cannot find. Oops, hang on a minute. There they are. So we've got 2 of our cut aparts. We only need 1. So we're going to use the back side of one of our cut apart sheets. All right, so this needs to be 3 3/4 wide. So I'm going to cut my width first, 3 3/4, and then 5 1/4 tall. This is going to go on our little top piece right there. Whoops, let me find my right glue. Okay, and our back side, I don't know if we've cut into this piece yet. I think we did. So I'm going to find mine and then I'll tell you what to look for. I think we used it all. We need another piece of this guy. All right. All right, so we're going to cut it to 5 1/4 tall. So I'm just putting my UPC into the trimmer. I'm going to cut from here at 5 1/4. And then the width, we want to be 3 3/4. I'm going to bring my album back into play here. So this is the back side of the first one. Here's our penguins. On the back side is where we're going to put this piece. Okay, and now we need to find our stripe piece. Find your stripe. Okay, I've got one here. So with the stripes, as you can see, going horizontal, I'm going to cut to 4 3/4. 4 3/4 by 5 1/4. I think I just did that. Nope, I did that right. It wouldn't matter. I'm just trying to do it exactly like the demo in case there was a picture that you saw that you go, oh, that's so cute. Let's do the same thing. So that goes on the next page. And then down in the bottom of your scraps, I saw mine. Give me a second here. There it is. I have this little piece left over. Mine's kind of crooked, actually. But I did put that along this edge. So I'm going to cut this also to 5 1/4. Let me see if by any... It won't matter. Mine's a little crooked. If yours is, that's okay. But I'm just going to glue it right to my edge here, to my left side, leaving about 1/4 inch showing. There we go. My glue didn't want to come out. This just gave me a little place to anchor when I wanted to throw a snowman on there. All right, let's flip. And the back side I did in that these pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and use this one that I've got a little piece left. So we're going to want it to be 4 3/4 wide. That's going to go right there. Okay, and now you need to find your mittens. So we should have a little bit left. And they're going in all directions, so it does not matter, which is a good thing. So this is going to be 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm just going to put the mitten side up. Now, if you like the striped side and you want to put the striped side up, you certainly can. Usually when I'm decorating for a kit that I want to make an offering, I'll put as much variety on the pages as I can. Okay, so that's done. Now we've got this flap here, and it is one of the dots. And this is what I have left to work with. So we want this to be 5 1/4 wide. So from my scrap here, I'm going to place it in at 5 1/4. And then we're going to have it be 4 3/4 tall. And that's going to get glued on the top flap here. Just like that. And then find your penguins that we've already cut into. And we're going to cut that again for our bottom. So we want it to be 4 3/4 tall. And then by 5 1/4 wide. And that, so we've got this top flap, and now we've got the bottom flap. Okay. So now our inside flaps, when we open them up, we've got 2 stripes. So let's go ahead and find a stripe again. I'm going to get this off of my trimmer. Okay, so we want these to be 5 1/4 wide, and then 4 3/4 tall. 4 3/4. And 4 3/4. So these will go like this, top and bottom. And then we need to find one of the, looks like sweater papers. We're gonna cut this to 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay. We have to take our paper clip off that's holding that pocket on the other side because we're going to it next, so it shouldn't get lost. And then I'm just going to glue it so that the differences in each row of the sweater can show left and right. There's no right or wrong, just whatever you like. Okay, top and bottom. So that is all covered, right? Inside and outside. So let's flip over. Okay, let me get my demo. All right, so we have sweater again. We've got this piece of sweater that covers our insert. So we'll cut this to 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. That piece that we just had, 5 1/4, 5 1/4. That's our little insert piece. So we'll, ooh, wait. This was 5 1/4. This needs to be 5 by 5. Okay, so we'll center that up. This is what we're going to tuck down into that pocket. Okay. I had a little bit of glue sneak out there, so I'm just rolling it back and forth. We'll set that aside and let it dry for a minute. And I've got a nice scrap here. So find your scrap. This is our pocket. So we want it to be 4 1/4 tall and 5 1/4 wide. So if you're not going to put a notch in it, you're just going to glue this centered up, and then we're going to glue it down onto our album. But I'm going to notch mine. So I'm going to press this all the way up to the top, and this was 5 1/2 wide. Okay, so I've got, this is by We Are Memory Keepers. It's an envelope maker. So 1/2 of 5 is 2 1/2. Did it say it was 5 1/2? Yeah. 1/2 of 5 is 2 1/2. 1/2 of 1/2 is 1/4. So I'm going to scooch over another 1/4. So now my notch should be centered to my blue. So push this all the way up to the top. Center my paper as good as I can. And then press down. And then when I slide this down, it's all perfectly centered. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and glue these stripes down to my pocket. And I'm going to go back and dig out my art glitter glue. See how that just nicely matches up there? So let's use my art glitter glue and go along all my folded edges to make this pocket. Okay. I'm going to bring my album back into play here. This is my back side. I'm going to tuck a scrap piece into there, so I'm not worried about that. I don't want to waste a whole piece going underneath this pocket that nobody's going to see. All right, so find this scrap right here. That will be big enough. It might already be cut. It is. We don't even do any cutting. We're just going to tuck it in and glue it down. So find this scrap piece in your pile. So I'm going to put my Fabrifix glue on my back. Okay, and I'm going to slide it in. So I'm coming at an angle here, coming at an angle there, and now I'm going to press down. You can come up just a little bit and still have some blue along that edge. Can you see it with my hand there? So there's our pocket. And then this guy should be nice and dry, and we'll tuck him down into it. Okay, then let's see if we have some mittens. I'm going to call them snowflakes, but they're mittens. I guess there's little snowflakes there. So we're going to cut this now 4 1/4. Yeah, 4 1/4 wide, 5 1/4 tall. So let's do our height first. 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. And that's going to go on this piece. And again, let's take a piece of scrap so you can see the edge that we want to center up to. Okay. And then the back side is another piece of that sweater. I've got one here. So we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to put it along the 12 and cut it at 4 1/4 and then 5 1/4. And this is our back side. Okay. So now we should have some dots. So I've got a kind of a square feeling piece here. So we're going to cut this one. I've got my UPC left, so I'm going to put it in there and cut it to 5 1/4 for my height, and then 4 3/4 for my width. And that'll go right there. Oops, there we go. So this is the part, that belly band that's attached, and this is our little flap. And then we've got an insert, but because I threw this in, I want to wait and see what paper's left over to cover him. I should probably pull it out so I don't forget we need to do that, because he can kind of get camouflaged in there. Okay. Oh, we also need to cover this page. So I'm just going to put a scrap piece if I can find one. Let's see. I think we'll wait on that too, because we could have some scrap. Let's move on. Let's go to our back. So let's find our snowman with the dark blue background. We may have to dig out another piece. Yep, okay. Snowman with the dark, so it's this pretty, that lime. I just love that lime. Okay, so let's cut this 5 1/4 tall. Yep, just double checking myself. And then the width is 4 3/4. Okay, and we're putting the snowman on the top of the flap. And I'm gonna have to sneak something underneath for me able to see what I'm trying to glue down. Just center it up. I want to do the same exact thing. So it's already the right height, so we're going to cut it to 4 3/4. And we're going to glue that to the underside, the part that flips up. And then we also need the lime green for the bottom. And we need this for earlier, so don't lose this scrap. I'm gonna set mine aside. All right, so 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 is just a square. 5 1/4, 5 1/4. And that gets centered up on that base piece. All right, so let's go back to our front. Remember this? So that first inside flap, whichever side you ended up covering, we're going to put the lime green, and I'm just going to overlap that pinkish red dot. Just like that. Okay, and then I did not measure this, so, and I think I put the ruler away. Oh, here we go. So, using that lime green, we're going to cut a piece that is 4 wide by, looks like 4 3/4. So let's cut this to 4 wide. 4 3/4 tall. So to kind of bring these in balance out, I put a little photo mat right in the center of the opposite page. Okay, I feel like that's got good contact. All right, so now I'm going to flip pages and see what I might have done with any scrap paper. Got that one. Okay. All right, so from a piece of sweater paper, which I forgot what the back, it's this guy here. Let's see if we happen to have a scrap that might be about 2 inches wide. And if we don't, we'll just cut this. Okay, we're gonna cut this. Okay, so we want this, I'm just gonna cut it to 2 inches tall. And then I think we've been doing 5 1/4. So where this is gonna go is right along the edge of our top flap here. And that just gives us a little place for us to build the cute little focal points. Whoops. Got some on my finger. Okay, so that's that one. I think yep, let me make sure there's any other scraps. Nope. Okay, so now we'll flip the page. This one here, and we had that cute, this paper here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut a 2-inch strip. And then 5 1/4 wide. I'm going to put this on the bottom of our pocket page. And again, about a 1/4 inch up. So we've got a place to put our little cute guys. I really had some glue sneak out there. I think I drug it off with my finger. Okay. Just checking out here. Okay. And I think we already did the, no we didn't. Okay, so let's find this piece here. We have a scrap that's a strip. So I'm gonna cut it to 5 1/4 and then take off my UPC. We're gonna put that at the bottom of, oh, he's not as wide. He's not a full. Let's see what we need to cut him. I think 4 3/4. Yes, 4 3/4. Okay, so now we have that guy. Now we've got the majority of our paper. Oh, wait, one more thing that was super cute. Hang on a second. Where was that? Pardon my arm, just can't quite reach my demo album. Yeah. Okay, so it's inside the flaps that open top and bottom. So this one here, where we open top and bottom, we're gonna make another square out of, we just can't let this paper go to waste. So we're gonna cut this square to 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. And what I did with this one is I just centered it up here on top of that sweater paper. This is the one that's got our little flaps. Okay, so now you've got hopefully lots of paper left. So we're going to go ahead and do our cover, our front and back. So I'm going to lay it out flat here. And we've got another piece of our sweater paper. I'm going to cut this. Let's see, what direction did I have my sweater go? Yeah, okay. So I want it going this way with my width. So I'm going to cut it to 3. I might need to trim it down. And then 5 3/4 because this is a 6-inch tall album. So because we leave the gap in here, sometimes we need a little bit extra width. I'm going to go ahead and take it down to 2 7/8. And I like that. So I'm just going to center it up between these folds. Voila. And then our back, I've already pre-cut that piece. That's in that pile that I had to set aside. And I'm going to be consistent and have this sweater going the same direction as my spine. So this is the back of the album. Remember, be sure you're gluing to the back and not the front. Okay. And now this is the front of our album. So we're going to put this guy down first, a little snowflake paper. And then if you want to ink your edges, and sometimes I do only on the front cover and not on everything else, so you can think about it again. See if you want to ink anything. And if not, this is where I've already put your double-sided tape on the back, maybe. So it's ready to peel off. I already put two-sided tape on the acetate. Oops, it doesn't want to come at that side. I'm going to get on this end. Okay. So now I'm going to stand up because I don't get a second chance at this. Okay, and my snowmen are going the right direction, and I'm just going to eyeball and center it. and place it down on top of my album. There we go. We're almost there. We just got to add our little pretties. So I'm going to do a camera view. I'll come back on camera and show you the placement of where I put my guys, and then you can put yours anywhere you want, but I'll just do a slow camera shot so you can hit pause and do whatever you want. But I think we're coming up on close to an hour, so we're going to cancel. We're going to stop this guy, and I'll come back and give you a shot at every page and what I did to decorate. All right, I'll be back. Bye-bye.